Hi everyone, this is Neetu Sugandh. In this lesson, we'll be covering the tone of an email and some basic punctuation rules. If you like my videos, you can follow me on this link and do rate, review, recommend, and share. So let's begin. Let's take a look at this email. Is this the right tone? Dear Sarah, we know you're not happy with our services and have many issues. We'll resolve your issues in 3 days. You're a valued customer. Regards, Tom. Now, pause the presentation and take a minute to think. Is this the right tone in the email? If you ask me, this is not the best tone of the email. Even though it talks about Sarah being a valued customer, the tone does not really tell us that she's a valuable customer. Even though it talks about that the time frame that it will take for the issue to get resolved, it does not give the best message. It's not that positive. So let's see what a better response could be. Okay, dear Sarah, we apologize for the inconvenience you're facing with the services. We have shared your issues with our technical team and they're trying their best to resolve them. It will take them 3 business days to do so. You're a valued customer and we are happy to help and resolve your concerns. Regards, Andrew. Now, this is Tom's manager. When he read the email, he changed the tone completely. This is definitely a better tone of the email. The reason why this is a better tone is because it's genuinely making Sarah look like a valued customer. At the same time, Andrew is apologizing for the inconvenience that Sarah is facing, and he's also given her what's next. He's explained to her that the technical team is working on the issue and it's going to take them 3 business days to complete the task. So that's why it makes Sarah feel more important. Let's take another email. Is this the right tone? Again, Tom's written an email. Dear Steve, because you did not pay your bill, we disconnected your services. Regards, Tom. Now, this is definitely rude. We're telling the customer that because you did not make the payment, we've disconnected your services. It's too direct. Instead, his manager, Andrew, changed the tone and said, Dear Steve, we regret to have disconnected your services due to an outstanding amount. Request you to make the payment so that the services can get activated. Now, Andrew is not making the customer feel so bad. In fact, through his email, the customer might want to make the payment and still remain with the company. But if you see Tom's email, the customer might want to just disconnect the services completely. And no organization wants to lose a customer. So that's why a tone is very, very important, a positive and a professional tone. Now, what are some elements that can make a tone professional or positive? These are the important elements of a professional email. It's courtesy, warmth, empathy, and enthusiasm. Let's see examples. Let's take a statement. Instead of saying you didn't send the payment, you can say we did not receive the payment. So that way you're not telling the person that, hey, you did not send the payment. We're saying that we did not receive the payment. So that is your basic courtesy. Warmth. Instead of telling the client that our clients' concerns are our concerns. Now there should be an apostrophe here. Our clients' concerns are our concerns. Instead of saying that, you can say your concern is our concern. So you're directly talking to the client here. Okay, and that's really helpful when a client is interpreting what you're saying. So if you've directly spoken to the client, he'll feel more important. The next one is empathy. Instead of saying, but we sent you your order and not empathizing at all, you can say, we're sorry to hear that you did not receive your order. If a customer has not received the order, it's important to acknowledge and empathize. What is empathy? Empathy is when you say something like, I'm sorry to hear that, or I apologize for the inconvenience. That's, apology plus empathy mixed together. So anytime when you're acknowledging the customer's issue, and you move to the main concern, that's when you're empathizing. So you can say, we're sorry to hear that you did not receive your order. Enthusiasm. Now you can simply say the cake has been delivered, but a better response would be, congratulations, the cake has been delivered. And this is more enthusiastic. So you see how just by adding that one word, you've made the whole message more enthusiastic. Okay, now that we know the basic elements of an email, let's move to punctuation. Now, take a minute to pause the presentation and punctuate this particular statement. Okay, let me give you the answer. Now, there are two ways to punctuate this. So, there was a group, in a group of men and women, the men punctuated it like this: Woman without her man is nothing. On the other hand, the women punctuated it like this: Woman without her man is nothing. So, you see how much difference punctuation can make. It can totally change the meaning of a sentence. So, let's take a look at some basic rules. The comma. Use commas in lists and when you're separating thoughts. That's how I remember it. Otherwise it's very confusing to remember so many rules. So what I tell myself is, if there's a list of things, then I need to use comma. For example, could you send the resume, cover letter, and the website of your current employer? So I'm separating the word resume and cover letter here. I'm not putting a comma after that because that's the last thing in the list that we've asked for. So whenever you're separating a thought or when you're separating, a list or a word, then you use a comma. Next one is quotation marks. Periods and commas go inside quotation marks. Now take a look at this example. In this particular sentence, the comma here is inside the quotation mark. It's not outside. It's a very common error. People don't pay attention to such details, but the comma is inside the quotation mark. So we would say Neetu's book, How I Learned to Speak in English, is available on Amazon. And make sure that the comma is inside the quotation mark. The next one is parentheses. Now that means these two brackets that I've shown here. Now periods and commas in these, they go outside the parentheses except for when the sentence stands alone. For example, if you're saying the customer made the payment, rupees 150, so the full stop will be outside the bracket. But if there's a separate sentence, that's a complete sentence in itself, then there'll be one full stop after the first sentence and there'll be one full stop after the second sentence in the bracket. So it'll be the customer made the payment, full stop. It is for rupees 150, full stop. Okay, the colon. A colon can connect two independent sentences. The sentence after the colon needs to begin with a capital letter. For example, let's take a look at this. After the colon, I have capitalized T of the word the. So conclusion, the client has agreed. Some people write a small, they write it in small case and that's not correct. So make sure after the colon, you're capitalizing the first letter of the next sentence. Okay, semicolon. A semicolon can also connect two unique but related sentences. He's a nice guy. He'll make the payment. So these are like two unique thoughts, but they are related. So we will use a semicolon in between. A period. A period, obviously, we all know that it's used at the end of sentences. But some common errors or some common confusions happen when they're used in a list. So whenever we're using bulleted points, something that I've told you that when you write an email, make sure you use a lot of bullet points. Why do you need to use bullets? So that you can organize your thoughts better. And eventually when you see more and more lessons and more emails, you'll see how I've broken my thoughts in bullet points. So that way you should know whether to add a full stop or whether not to add a full stop. So whenever it's a complete sentence like meet the client, show him the report, get the approval from him. These are complete sentences. So you add a full stop. In case they were not complete sentences, if I would just say, let's say, meet or show him, and they're not complete, then I would not add a full stop. And then some other examples for adding full stops would be AM, Mr., Doctor example. Make sure you add full stops or the period at the end of each letter. Then the question mark. We all know that a question mark is used at the end of a question. Now, a common error is that people forget to use it when the question is very long. So if we say, could you send me the resume, cover letter and the website of your current employer? It's such a lengthy question that sometimes people put a full stop in the end. But there needs to be a question mark because it begins with a question word. Okay, common errors. A very common error in emails is unnecessary spacing. So make sure you don't add that double spacing or don't add too many spacing between words. It's not required. You just need one space after each word. A common confusion is also between its and its. It's like with an apostrophe and its without the apostrophe. The difference between them is its with the apostrophe means it is. For example, it's a great day. or it is a great day. So whenever you just make sure that you expand it, whenever you can use it is, then you will use the first one, which is with the apostrophe. If it's like if it shows ownership, for example, she has a book, its cover is awesome, so it's showing the ownership for the cover, right? So in that case you will use it without the apostrophe, because in this case we can't say she has a book, it is cover is awesome, that'll be incorrect, right? So if you cannot expand it to it is, then use its without the apostrophe. So it's. So this will be all from my end for this particular lesson. We'll move to the next lesson now. In the meantime, you have a great time and enjoy writing emails. Thank you. Bye-bye.